Fernandeza z Frostem Sullivan, który jest zresztą naszym patronem honorowym, to mówię o Frostem Sullivan i rzeczywiście oczywiście pana Fernandeza. O jego prezentację szybko tylko jeszcze ją zaktualizuję i oddaję.
Fernandez. My name is Mario Fernandez. I am an industrial analyst at Frost & Sullivan, growth consulting company. And the aim of my presentation today is to focus on one of the hottest debates that we have heard from ICT vendors and from some financial institutions. Should I go to cloud or should I go to NFC? The security part of the presentation, the time doesn't allow us to cover it, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer in the Q&A session or in one of the breaks. So this is our agenda for today. First, we will be talking about the cloud, then why it's on the rise, what are the drivers behind it, how we see some of the cloud-based mobile financial services rising. Then we will be talking about NFC. Lots have been changing during the last 6 months, and I think it's worth catching up on that side and telling you what has been changed and what are the implications for the coming years. Then I would like to illustrate to remain politically independent with a case study from the US, not a local one, on what has been the development of mobile wallets in the US and what can we learn from that. And then I would like to conclude with the key takeaways. This is the control, right? Yeah. So let's start with the cloud-based mobile financial services. So one of the reasons why cloud-based mobile financial services have been more rapid to spread in the market than NFC-based mobile financial services is that simply with cloud you can have a broader range of services in the mobile spectrum. You simply can have mobile banking, you can have that with NFC. You can have mobile remittances, you can have that with NFC. NFC is a technology that just allows you to communicate with an immediate environment. You can transform with the help of an add-on. You can transform your smartphone or your tablet into a POS terminal. You can again do that with NFC. I mean, you theoretically could do it, but I see little incentives in doing that. And you can help, or you can use the mobile devices for remote shopping, for e-commerce. Now, there are some areas in which NFC and cloud overlap. These are basically our mobile payments, in-store payments, mobile ticketing, and mobile commerce. All the thing around loyalty and couponing programs. There is only one thing that we believe NFC has something that cloud doesn't have, and it's payments, and it's the ability, for example, to interact with the immediate environment that you can have at retailer, for example, with, I don't know, there is a stand with some products, you can get some information from them. This is something that cloud really doesn't do and wouldn't have any added value. So that's the main reason. First, the broader range of financial services that you can capture with cloud, and you cannot do it with NFC. Then the second thing that we see is favoring cloud is the fact that the value chain is much simpler and you can service your customer much more easily. You don't have to deal with partners, you don't have to be worried about whether my user will have a telephone that will be equipped to do the payment or do the transaction. You can just simply serve them. One thing that we see here also is that this is beyond the ability to serve directly your customer. When you have to partner with somebody else, you also will have to set up an infrastructure to that. In the case of NFC, you have to have a trusted service manager, you have to have some service level agreement in place, you have to determine what are the responsibilities of the operator, what are the responsibilities of the financial institution. This all has many implications and has some costs. The costs are reflected in the business model, sorry. And somehow you will have to split the revenue that you traditionally was only yours, if in the case you are a financial service provider or independent service provider. If you are a mobile operator, of course, these are some revenue that you didn't have in the past, and it may be attractive to have it. But from the perspective of financial institution, I think cloud is much more compelling. Now, the last driver that we see is driving, the last driver behind cloud, sorry, is the fact that it's device agnostic. You don't have, right now, you don't have to worry about what the model you are deploying it. You perhaps have to worry about the operating system, and you have to develop an application for each operating system, if it's a rich client application. But you can do that, and probably if your business is providing payments, I think this is an investment that you can incur and wouldn't have any, the cost wouldn't be significant compared to the return. And more importantly, I will say with this, with cloud, is that it's easy to upgrade first, both from the merchant side and from the user side. You just need a software upgrade. There's no hardware in it. And second is the end user readiness. Like, people are already used to, if you are targeting mobile financial services, you are targeting smartphone users, active smartphone users. They're already used to download applications. They're already used to sign in for the services. And this is something that you can do with cloud. With the NFC, you have to go a step extra and try to teach them how to do this, how to pay with the mobile phone. For some people, it may sound strange, even if they are proficient users of smartphones. Now, let's talk a little bit about the applications itself of cloud. So first of all, it's m-banking. We see is definitely the most advanced cloud-based mobile financial service. We see some difference between Western Europe and Europe. These statistics that you see here is our forecast for Europe. What we see is in Western Europe, we tend to have banks with many rich client-based applications that you download through one store. Here in Central Eastern Europe, we see a combination of both rich client applications, but also browser-based applications, which are just adapted to the mobile screen device. Right now, we see the number around 30 million, and we expect the number to triple and be around 100 million by 2018. And to put this number into perspective, it will be a penetration of around 18% of the total customer banking base. You have to look at this penetration with some careful eyes, because there are some bank accounts that are corporate bank accounts, and that actually they wouldn't have the need to have a mobile mobile banking offering in place because they are corporate, but still, like the penetration tells you something. Now, the second thing that we see could be an immediate opportunity will be e-commerce, as our colleagues from Genius highlighted it. Still, e-commerce, tends to be more important for tablets than for smartphones, and that's why we did the penetration here. But only the fact that you have internet, the fact that you have the smartphone or the tablet will help to transmit much of the e-commerce that you traditionally are doing right now from your desktops or laptops to the mobile device. There are some things to note here. So, for example, in countries where e-commerce is relatively high, we see some fraction of it, not all, but some fraction of it shipping to the mobile device. Because as you said, as we saw it in the presentation, we start using more and more mobile devices for our personal stuff. In the work environment, desktops and laptops undeniably have a value added, because you run corporate applications there, you run Excel and so on and so on. But for the personal stuff, I think in Western Europe especially, we see some shift of the e-commerce moving. What we will expect, or it would be nice to see, is that in countries like Italy, Poland, Spain, where the e-commerce is relatively low compared to the penetration of smartphones and so on, we expect that the e-commerce indeed increase, driven by the availability of these new mobile devices. Yeah, that's basically e-commerce, one of the immediate opportunities. Now, another area that we see growing is, or that we see lots of interest, is in-store payments. And when it comes to in-store payments, we see that there are two types of kind of offerings. Like, on one side, we have the independent payment service providers, and the idea behind their strategy is to bring together both the online and the offline commerce. We still do lots of research online, but we go and buy it online. So they want to bring together these two worlds with tools like data analytics. We want to bring together these two tools and say, like, okay, Jan Kowalski, he does this or that research at his place. He wanted to buy a grill. Then the next time that he's in, let's say, Castorama, he receives an offering there of a cheaper grill, a rabat for the grill. Then banks are, I think, they are more concentrated on just enabling the payments in the stores. We have seen great statistics from ITO or ECO from PKO and Polskie, and also from Pingit. I think what we see still is there is still some upgrades for the terminals, so that there is more availability of POS terminals there in which people can pay. But some of the statistics that they have shared with us, I mean, are very compelling. Now, what about the NFC? So until now, by now, you must be thinking that I'm just promoting cloud-based mobile financial services, but we also have a view on NFC, and it's kind of positive. And then, well, I will continue. First, the lack of NFC funds stops being a concern. So the market for NFC funds has been dominated by, or the chips of NFC funds have been dominated by major semiconductor vendors like NXP, especially NXP, Inside Secure, Infineon, STM Microelectronics. And what we have seen is that there is a more and more interest from other semiconductor vendors like Broadcom, Qualcomm, MediaTek, and they all are also including the radio part, at least the radio part of the NFC, not the secure element. If this graph that you see here is just for the secure elements, and it shows a really steady growth, especially the one of the embedded secure elements, and we expect more and more funds to reach the market in many devices. NXP alone has already 150 design wins in mass production at the moment. NFC SIM secure element is also on the rise. It's something that the mobile operators are betting on, and it's something that, together with the phones that will have the NFC controllers, will enable people to have NFC phones. And then we have other secure elements which are of less importance. I think we believe they will have always a marginal role basically, what we see is a steady growth in this year, and this is hard data. Was the shipments of NFC secure elements was estimated at 160 million, and for the next year it's easily going to take 250 million. And then we expect to have it more and more, and especially driven by the interest of Qualcomm and Broadcom, which have a very strong power in the smartphone arena, and they are including the NFC connectivity into their combo chips. Together with that, what we also see, and it's favoring a kind of a little bit NFC, is the familiarity with contactless technologies. Here, contactless technologies have been entered. There are various reasons: the interest of course, MasterCard and Visa, the funding a little bit of the terminals, the high interchange fees that are in Poland. But we see other countries being interested also in contactless technologies. And the ones that make this growth that high of contactless cards is the migration of China and the US to the EMV standard, and the fact that they will not only migrate to the EMV standard, but they will also adopt contactless technology simultaneously. Not all banks, and not for all the cards, but many of them are doing it. So we believe that this familiarity with contactless technologies may favor at some point also NFC-based payments. Now, the part of NFC, I just would like to finalize with a map of some rollouts. And the most important here that I would like that you take away, that for the first time that we do a slide like this, all the cases or the countries that are listed here will have, within the next 6 months, commercial rollouts. These are not trials, these are commercial rollouts. They support different technologies and they support different kind of secure elements. In the case of, let's say Canada, the Royal Bank of Canada, Bell, are working with NFC SIM cards in BlackBerry phones. In the case of ICES, the US, the welcoming of Verizon Wireless, AT&T, and T-Mobile USA, together with a couple of US banks, will also have NFC SIM cards. They will support many Android devices. In China, we have, apart from the Android devices, Samsung HTC, we have also ZTE and Huawei phones, which will be NFC capabilities. And they will also use an NFC SIM card. Let's think of Russia in IP MasterCard. They will use instead an NFC embedded secure element, and this is mainly driven because of the way phones are sold there. phones are not sold through the mobile operators stores, they are sold directly to customers. The same probably we think, because Visa hasn't given yet many details, but Visa probably will go also with an NFC secure element in the UK. And the last interesting case is one in France, in CES. CES is a company that deals with advertising in retail environments, and they have already started including the tags on the retailer shelves so that people can interact with it. You can get information like the nutrition facts of the product. You can get the information. You can get some discounts. You can redeem your loyalty points, and so on and so on. So case study. Now, by this point of the presentation, you must be thinking this guy is promoting both NFC and cloud-based. But I would like to highlight that it's not that way, and let's look at this case study. Here we have on this and that column we have numbers for credit and debit card usage in the US. On the remaining columns we have on the remaining columns we have M-wallets in the US. The first one is PayPal. It's a cloud-based one. They don't like to call it a mobile wallet. They like to call it a digital wallet. Then we have Google, which also has a commercial rollout. It's an NFC-based. And then lastly, we have ISIS, which is not yet a commercial rollout. It has been a trial in 2 cities, Salt Lake City and Austin. It's also the secure element in the case of Google is an embedded secure element. The secure element in the case of ISIS is an NFC SIM card. So let's look at the stats, and let's start with PayPal. PayPal had announced it at the end of last year that they had a 14 billion transaction. They processed 14 billion US dollars. Sorry, that's about less than 1% of the total transactions of debit cards. So it shows that PayPal has a very strong image in the US, especially in the e-commerce environment, and bringing that to the mobile environment hasn't been easy. If we look down at these statistics, it seems to us that people are still using it mainly for e-commerce, not for in-store payments. The relatively amount here per payment, the average value of the transaction is relatively high, so that indicates that people are still using it for e-commerce, not for in-store payments. And the average user still falls below credit card transactions, which have a similar use in the e-commerce space. So it's 0.4, sorry, instead of 1.4. Now, on the Google, despite they didn't provide any information, I think that tells you a lot, because a company that just launches a new product, they take care of promoting it, because in that way they can attract more merchants or end users to use it. And after 2 years of their launch, they haven't announced any. One of the things that I'm sure, like, there's very creative and innovative people behind this project, but what we see was one of the key problems that they have is all the conditions that a customer had to fulfill to use these services. They have to be a customer from Citibank, they have to be a customer from Sprint, they had to have one or two phones. I think one was the Samsung Galaxy S3 and the other one was, I think, HTC. They had to be interested in in innovative payments, and they have to be based in special locations within the US. If you just look all of these conditions, then your target market is so narrow that it's very difficult to drive adoption with that. But I think this explains some of the difficulties that Google probably has faced. They revamped the strategy initially, and they decided to include cloud-based payments. Just after that, they announced that the number of transactions doubled after 1 week, but since then they haven't announced anything else. And it gives you thinking. It shows that it's not as easy as they initially thought. And then we have ISIS, which is also an NFC-based wallet. They have done 2 trials in Austin and Salt Lake City. The people could pay in the stores and the people could pay in the transit. And you see an impressive number here of 5 transactions per week. So then we try to find out why was the transaction so high. The thing is that you could use the NFC phone at the public transport city of these cities, and you could get a free ride every time that you were using it. So that explains a little bit why it's so high. Probably in a more normal environment, when you have to pay for the service, then you won't use it as much. But it's a good way of driving it anyway. So what this can tell us, that first, there is still time. I mean, we care about money. End users care about money. And as long as we care about money, it will take us time to move from a wallet, from our traditional wallets to the mobile wallet. There is no, I think despite the statistics that we show us always have a compounded annual growth rates of 50%, I think it will take us some time to really use these devices as our wallet. So I think if you are in the process of revamping your strategy or creating a strategy for mobile financial services, you still have lots of time. One of the things that you have to think is, from our perspective, is what are the customers that I want to provide these services with? What are they interested in? What are the services that they really want? One of the best practices that we have seen is like the good mobile wallet vendors don't include a huge amount of services. They just include a very specific number of mobile services that fit into the mobile screen. That I think will be key. And also it will be key to have in mind that you cannot address your entire customer base, that it will be a very specific segment of your customer, and that you probably cannot segment it according to the demographic characteristics in which you segment your traditional banking service. That will be something more related to the personal traits, like students, like corporate executives, and so on. So what is the underlying technology? It will also be a case for us. It's not an either-or option. It can be, you can have both cloud and NFC. You can have one of them. Let's not forget about SMS. What we sell, like SMS is still here. It's still money. It's still a way of confirming or providing notifications to our clients. Who should you partner with? Would you like to partner with a mobile network operator? Well, that has some implications. Take it into account while you are building your business case. Would you like just to partner with a mobile wallet vendor and an IT service provider, system integrator? That also has some costs. Like, take them into account when you are building your business case. And have a product roadmap. I think once you deploy the service, there will be lots to be done in terms of shaping it to cater the needs of that specific customer segment that you are serving. And to conclude, also to try to leave a positive kind of more optimistic impression on you. So right now, the market for mobile financial services is dominated by SMS, by large, of mobile payment transactions, sorry. With time, we think like NFC and internet-based will take a greater share simply because of the value of the base, the value of the goods that you are paying for are much valuable. Let's say you are paying, you are not paying for a digital good, you are paying for usually physical goods or high-worth digital goods. But still, what we see is that even though it will increase a lot, mobile payment transactions will not account for more than 3% of the total non-cash value transactions in 2015 and no more than 5% of the total non-cash value transactions by 2018. So it's growing. You have to be there. It doesn't harm you if you are not in the short term. You have to be there in the long term. But it's also, it's growing rapidly. But if you look at the broader picture, it's not that rapid. So the key takeaways, cloud is on the rise. There are the broader coverage of mobile financial services, the fact that end users are used to them, and the fact that the second one, the fact that you can give a broader user coverage, the fact that your end users are used to it, and the fact that the value chain is simpler is helping the cloud. NFC is catching up, slowly there, but catching up. We see the increasing availability of NFC phones. That stops being a concern, and also increasing awareness of contactless technologies by end users is also helping. And finally, the marketing strategy. So before, you still have time to develop a solid marketing strategy, and you still have time to revamp it as many times as necessary until you get like the desired product by your customers. So that's all. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
You talked about the various applications of NFC and cloud. You didn't say anything about for proximity and remote peer-to-peer payments. What do you think of that?
Yeah, very good. I think like if we were to put it somewhere, we would put it in the middle of the two circles. You are right with that. I think it's something that there is also lots of it's an important service. Sorry, and if we see Pingit originally was designed for P2P transactions, so yeah, it's something that we shouldn't ignore. Thank you.